Child disappears at market. 16 years later, sister finds recent photo on profile. Emily Johnson was focused on organizing her photos on the computer when something made her stop completely. There, on a social media page she had stumbled upon by chance, was an image she would recognize anywhere in the world. It was Lily, her little sister Lily, who had disappeared 16 years earlier at the farmer's market in Portland. The same Lily who was only 6 years old when she let go of her mother's hand to look at the colorful little fish at the fish counter. "My God," whispered Emily, her hands trembling over the keyboard. The photo showed a 22-year-old young woman smiling at a college graduation. The same brown eyes, the same face shape, the same tiny birthmark on the forehead that Lily had as a child. There was no doubt. Emily closed her eyes, trying to control her breathing. Her mind immediately went back to that terrible December afternoon when she was only 10 years old and had asked her mother to buy honey candies at the market. If she hadn't asked for those candies, maybe none of this would have happened. Sarah Johnson was choosing tomatoes when she noticed Lily had let go of her hand. The little girl had a habit of doing that, always curious about everything around her. But this time, when Sarah turned around, Lily was no longer there. "Lily?" she called, looking between the vegetable stands. Sarah's heart began to race. The farmer's market was crowded that Friday afternoon, right before the weekend. People were coming and going, carrying bags, talking loudly, creating a noise that made any call hard to hear. "Lily!" she shouted louder, dropping her shopping bag. Emily, who was a few feet ahead looking at the candies at the candy shop counter, heard the desperation in her mother's voice and ran back. "Where's Lily, Mom? Lily? She was right here by my side just now," Sarah was saying, turning her head in every direction. "Lily! Lily!" People began to stop and look. Some vendors approached, asking if they could help. Sarah described her daughter, a 6-year-old girl, brown hair in a ponytail, yellow dress with flowers, red sandals. "She must be around here somewhere, ma'am," said the owner of the fish counter. "Kids always do that. They go see something and forget to tell you." But Sarah knew her daughter. Lily was obedient. She never wandered off far. 15 minutes passed and nothing. 30 minutes. An hour. Michael Johnson arrived at the market after Sarah called him desperately at the office where he worked as an accountant. The man with unshaven beard and worried eyes immediately took control of the situation. "Let's search calmly," he said, trying to reassure his wife. "She must be playing somewhere. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing." Michael organized a systematic search. He, Sarah, and Emily spread out through the market, going through every aisle, every stall, every corner where a child could be. The vendors also helped, temporarily closing their stalls to search. "Has anyone seen a little girl in a yellow dress?" Michael asked every person he met. The answer was always the same, no. It was then that they found Mr. Frank, who worked at the back entrance of the market. "Oh yes," he said, scratching his grey head. "I saw an elderly lady leaving with a little girl. I thought it was strange because the girl seemed a bit confused, but I thought she was her granddaughter." "What did this lady look like?" Sarah asked, grabbing the man's arm. "White hair, wearing a blue floral dress." She was whispering to the girl something about going home to see Grandma. The girl didn't say anything. "What time was this?" Michael intervened. "About 2 hours ago, more or less." Sarah felt her legs go weak. 2 hours. Lily had been missing for 2 hours and they only now had a lead. "Where did they go?" Emily asked with a trembling voice. "I saw them getting into a taxi over there on the street." Michael immediately started going door to door with the taxis parked near the farmer's market. Most drivers didn't remember anything specific until he found Mr. Ray, a taxi driver with many years on the job. "Yes, I remember," said Ray. "An elderly lady. She seemed a bit confused. She kept talking to herself the whole ride, something about her granddaughter. The little girl was quiet, but she seemed scared to me." "Where did you take them?" "To the bus station. The lady bought tickets to Eugene, said she was going to visit her daughter." Michael felt his world collapse. Eugene was over 100 kilometers from Portland. If Lily was really with that woman, she could be anywhere by now. Sarah went into a total panic when she heard the news. She started screaming and crying in the middle of the street, calling out Lily's name until she was hoarse. Michael had to carry her to the car, while Emily cried silently in the back seat. "Let's go to the bus station," Michael decided. Someone there must have seen them. At the bus station, after much insistence, they managed to speak with the clerk who had sold the tickets. "I remember the lady," said the young man. "She seemed a bit lost, spent some time looking at the schedule board without knowing what she wanted. The girl was with her but didn't say a thing. I thought she might be mute." "Where exactly did she buy a ticket to?" "Eugene, the 4 o'clock bus." Michael looked at his watch. It was 7 in the evening. The bus had arrived at its destination over an hour ago. That night, the Johnson family didn't sleep. Michael spent hours on the phone trying to reach someone in Eugene who could help. Sarah sat in the living room staring at the door, as if Lily would appear at any moment. Emily locked herself in the room she shared with her sister, looking at Lily's empty bed. The dolls were still arranged on top of the dresser, exactly as Lily had left them that morning. "It's my fault," Emily whispered in the dark. "If I hadn't asked for those honey candies." In the days that followed, Michael traveled to Eugene several times. He walked the streets, showed Lily's picture to dozens of people, visited schools, health clinics, anywhere a child might turn up. He found vague clues. Someone had seen an elderly lady with a little girl at the Eugene bus terminal, but they had caught another bus to a smaller town in the countryside. The trail went cold there. Sarah developed an obsessive routine. Every day she went to the farmer's market and spent hours walking the aisles, hoping to see Lily appear among the people. The vendors knew her by now and tried to comfort her, but she always came back the next day. "Lily will come back," Sarah repeated to anyone who would listen. "She knows the way home. She'll come back." Michael tried to keep the family together and the bills paid, but the pressure was consuming everyone. He had spent all their savings on the trips to look for Lily, hired a private detective for a few months, but the results were always the same: nothing. The relationship between Michael and Sarah began to deteriorate. They argued about decisions they should have made differently that day, about where to look, about whether they should move or stay in Portland in case Lily came back. "You're not doing enough," Sarah accused Michael during their fights. "I'm doing everything I can," he answered, exhausted. "I can't work a miracle." Emily grew up in the middle of that emotional chaos. By age 11, she had become a child far too serious for her age. She stopped playing, stopped smiling, and dedicated all her energy to her studies. "I'm going to study really hard," she would tell herself. "I'll graduate, get a good job, and hire the best detectives in the world to find Lily." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. 2 years had passed. The family had moved to a smaller, cheaper house, but Michael kept the same landline number in case Lily tried to call. It was on a Thursday afternoon that they received a call that would change everything. "Hello?" Michael answered. "Hi, it's about a missing girl," said a woman's voice on the other end of the line. "I saw the poster you put up here in Fairview." Michael's heart raced. Fairview was about 50 miles from Portland. "Did you see our daughter?" "Maybe. A neighbor of mine mentioned she saw an elderly lady with a child at the street market here in town a few months back. The lady seemed confused. She kept calling the girl by a different name." Michael wrote down the address, and the next day he was driving to Fairview. Sarah wanted to go with him, but he preferred to go alone first, so as not to get their hopes up. In the small town, Michael found Mrs. Betty, a 60-year-old woman who sold vegetables at the market. "I do remember that woman," Mrs. Betty told him. "She showed up here several times with a little girl. The girl seemed lost, you know. She hardly spoke, just stayed by the lady's side." "What did the girl look like?" "Brown hair, big eyes. She must have been about 7 or 8. The lady kept calling her Annie, but the girl didn't respond much." Michael showed her the photo of Lily. Mrs. Betty put on her glasses and looked carefully. "It could be. The girl was always wearing a hat, so you couldn't see her face properly. But her mannerisms, it could be." "Do you know where they lived?" The elderly woman said once that she lived at her daughter's house near the public elementary school. But it's been a while since I've seen them around here. Michael spent the rest of the day looking for the public elementary school. When he found it, he talked to several people in the neighborhood. One of them, Mrs. Rose, remembered the elderly woman. "Oh, Mrs. Margaret," said Mrs. Rose. "She lived with her daughter, the teacher Karen, but they moved away a few months ago." "Where did they move to?" "I'm not sure. Teacher Karen got a transfer to a school out in the country. I heard it was somewhere near Hot Springs." Michael returned home with a heavy heart, another clue that led nowhere. How was he going to find a teacher named Karen somewhere near Hot Springs? But he didn't give up. In the following months, Michael wrote letters to all the education departments in the Hot Springs area, asking about a transferred teacher named Karen. Most didn't even reply. Meanwhile, Sarah had stopped going to the farmer's market every day, but she developed other strange behaviors. She would set an extra plate at the table for every meal, in case Lily shows up at lunchtime. She kept the girls' room exactly as it was on the day she disappeared. Emily, now 13, was in high school and was one of the top students. She had chosen to study information technology, convinced the internet would be a powerful tool for finding missing people. "Dad, one day I'm going to create a system to find Lily," she would tell Michael. 3 years later, when Michael had given up on getting a reply from the education departments, a different letter arrived. It was from a small town called Fairhaven, near the border with Michigan. "Mr. Michael Johnson, we received your letter regarding the teacher Karen Williams Smith. She worked at our rural school for 2 years, but transferred again last year. She left an address in Greenville. The address is attached." Michael could hardly believe it. After all this time, finally a concrete lead. The following weekend, he traveled to Greenville. The address led to a simple house in a residential neighborhood. Michael knocked on the door with his heart in his throat. A woman around 40 years old answered, with brown hair tied in a bun, wearing glasses. "Are you Karen Williams Smith?" "I am. What can I do for you?" Michael explained about Lily, about the disappearance, about the trail that led him there. As he spoke, Karen's face grew pale. "Sir, I think you'd better come in," she said with a trembling voice. The house was small but tidy. Michael sat in an armchair and Karen stood nervous. "My mother," Karen began slowly. "She had Alzheimer's. In her last years, she would get very confused. She thought I was a child again, that my father was still alive." Michael waited for her to continue. "One day, she showed up at home with a little girl. She said she had found my daughter, that I had finally given her a granddaughter. I tried to explain it wasn't true, but my mother didn't understand. And the girl? She was scared. She barely spoke. My mother said her name was Annie, that she looked just like me when I was a child. I didn't know what to do." Karen began to cry. "I was single. I always wanted to have children, but never could. And the girl was so lost, so in need of care. When my mother passed away 6 months later, I already loved that child as if she were my own daughter." "Where is she now?" Michael asked, trying to stay calm. She grew up. She's a young woman now. She's in college. I want to see her." Karen shook her head. "She doesn't know the truth. To her, I've always been her mother. She believes her parents, that you passed away when she was little." Michael felt a mix of anger and relief. Lily was alive, she was well, but she had been raised believing her real family no longer existed. "She has a right to know the truth," Michael said firmly. "And I have a right to protect my daughter," Karen replied just as firmly, "because that's what she's been to me for 16 years. My daughter." The conversation went on for hours. Karen told how she had raised Lily, how the girl was smart and caring, how she had also become a teacher with a degree in education. "She works as a volunteer at an NGO that helps reunite separated families," Karen said with irony in her voice. "She thinks it's the most important work in the world." Michael didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Please," he begged, "let me at least see her. You don't have to tell her anything now. Just let me see her." Karen was silent for a long time. "She's coming to visit me on Sunday," she said finally. "If you promise you won't do anything to upset her, you can drive by when she's here." Michael agreed, though he knew it would be the hardest thing he'd ever done. The following Sunday, Michael parked on the street by Karen's house and waited. At 2 in the afternoon, he saw a young woman walking up. Brown hair, now long, eyes he would recognize anywhere. It was Lily, his daughter Lily, now a 22-year-old woman. Michael gripped the steering wheel tightly to keep from running after her. Lily went into the house and stayed there for a few hours. When she left, Michael followed her from a distance to a bus stop. He managed to hear when she said on the phone, "Hi, Mom Karen, I'm heading out now, love you." Michael returned to Portland devastated and yet relieved. Lily was alive, she was well, but she belonged to another family now. Sarah was in shock when she heard the news. "You saw our daughter and didn't bring her home?" she yelled at Michael. "She's not our daughter anymore," Michael answered sadly. "She's been someone else's daughter for 16 years. I don't accept that." The fight that followed was the worst they'd ever had. Sarah said she was going to Greenville to get Lily. Michael said that would destroy the girl's life. Emily, now 19 and studying computer engineering, tried to mediate the situation. "Mom, we need to think about what's best for Lily," Emily was saying. "What's best for her is to be with her real family," Sarah answered. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like, and especially to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out now continuing. It was then that Emily had an idea. She had finished her tech course and was working at a software company. In her free time, she researched ways to use the internet to find people. "Dad, what if we created a profile on social media?" she suggested. "Not to confront Lily, but so she can find us if she ever wants to." Michael thought the idea was interesting. "But how would she know we're her family? We can post old photos, memories from when she was a child. If she remembers anything, she'll recognize them." Emily created a profile called Looking for Lily Johnson. She posted photos of the family before the disappearance, videos of Lily's birthdays, descriptions of games they used to play together. Months passed with no response. Sarah remained obsessive, now spending hours each day on the computer, searching for Lily on social media. Michael tried to continue a normal life, but it was hard. It was on a Tuesday night that it happened. Emily was at home organizing some photos on the computer when she decided to randomly search for profiles of people who graduated in education in Greenville. She didn't have much hope, but something made her keep searching. When she found the profile of Lily Williams Smith, her heart stopped. The profile picture showed a smiling young woman wearing a graduation gown, hugging an older woman who must have been Karen. But what caught Emily's attention wasn't that. In the background of the photo hanging on the wall was the same rag doll Lily had when she was 6, the doll she called Dolly and never let go of. Emily opened other photos from the profile. In one of them, Lily was at a school festival where she worked. She wore a yellow ribbon in her hair exactly the same way she used to wear it as a child. In another photo, Lily was at an event for the NGO where she did volunteer work. The caption said, "Another family reunited today. Nothing makes me happier than seeing parents and children find each other again." Emily began to cry. There was her sister, dedicating her life to reuniting families, not knowing that her own family had been searching for her for 16 years. She sent a private message. "Hi Lily, my name is Emily. You don't know me, but I would really like to talk to you about something important. Can you give me 5 minutes?" The reply came the next day. "Hi Emily. Of course, I always have time to talk, especially if it's about reuniting families. Is it about that?" Emily spent hours thinking about how to respond. How do you tell someone you're their long-lost sister? How do you explain 16 years of searching? She decided to be indirect. "Lily, do you remember anything from when you were very little, before you were 7? "I have a few fuzzy memories. Why? "Do you remember going to a market with colorful fish?" There was a long pause before the answer. "How do you know that? Who are you?" Emily took a deep breath and typed, "I'm your sister, Lily, the sister who was with you at the farmer's market in Portland 16 years ago." Lily's reply took 2 days to come. "I don't understand. My mom always told me my parents left when I was little, that I was raised by my grandmother and then by her. Lily, our parents are alive. Our family never stopped looking for you. I never stopped looking for you. Another long pause. This can't be true. Emily sent a family photo taken a week before the disappearance. In the photo, Michael was holding Lily in his lap. Sarah was on the side with Emily. Do you remember this photo? Lily's response came almost immediately. I've always had dreams about these people, but I thought they were just dreams. They weren't dreams, Lily. They're memories. In the following days, Emily and Lily exchanged hundreds of messages. Emily told everything: the disappearance, the search, how the family had been shattered by the loss. Lily told her version, how she had grown up believing she was an orphan, how Karen had been a wonderful mother, how she had dedicated her life to helping other families reunite. This is very confusing for me, Lily wrote. The woman I've called Mum for 16 years, she lied to me. She loves you, Emily replied. That's not a lie, but she's not your biological mother. And you? Do you love me too? Every single day of our lives. Lily asked for time to process everything. She needed to talk to Karen, understand what had really happened. When Lily confronted Karen about the truth, the conversation was devastating for both. You lied to me my whole life, Lily said, crying. I protected you, Karen replied. When you arrived here, you were traumatized, scared. You wouldn't speak, you barely ate. I took care of you. But you knew I had a family. I did. But when my mother passed away and you called me Mum for the first time, I couldn't send you back to a world that might hurt you again. You had no right to make that choice for me. Karen knew Lily was right. She had made a selfish decision, driven by her own desire to be a mother. What will you do now? Karen asked. I don't know. I love you, Mum, Karen. You raised me, educated me, gave me everything. But they are my blood family. They looked for me my whole life. Lily was torn between two worlds, two families, two kinds of love. She decided to talk to Emily on the phone for the first time. When she heard her sister's voice, Lily began to remember more things. You always sang a song to help me sleep, Lily said. Black-faced bull, Emily replied, emotional. And you taught me how to braid my doll's hair. Dolly, do you still have her? I do. I could never get rid of her, even though I didn't know why. The two sisters cried on the phone for almost an hour. Lily then asked to speak with her parents. Michael answered the phone with trembling hands. Dad? Lily said on the other end. Michael couldn't speak. He began sobbing like a child. Dad, I remember you taking me to see the little birds in the park. Every Sunday, Michael managed to say through tears. You always wanted to see the great Kiskadee, and you taught me how to whistle like them. When Sarah spoke with Lily, the conversation was more difficult. Sarah was resentful of Karen. She wanted Lily to come home immediately. Daughter, you need to come back to your real family, Sarah said. Mum, I don't know which one is my real family anymore. Is it you who brought me into this world? Or is it Mum Karen who raised me? Sarah didn't like the answer. We are your real parents. That woman is a stranger who stole you from us. She didn't steal me, Mum. She saved me. The conversation ended badly, with Sarah hanging up the phone angrily. Lily spent weeks in crisis, not knowing what decision to make. Karen respected her space but was clearly suffering. The Johnson family, on the other hand, pressured her to come visit them. It was Emily who suggested a middle ground. Lily, what if we meet in a neutral place first? Just the two of us? They agreed to meet at a cafe in New York City, halfway between Portland and Greenville. When Emily saw Lily entering the cafe, she had to hold herself back from running to hug her. Lily was nervous, looking around everywhere, clearly unsure. Emily? She asked as she approached the table. Lily? The hug between the two sisters lasted several minutes. They cried while embracing in the middle of the cafe, not caring about the people watching. You've grown up, Emily said, smiling through her tears. You too. You look so different from my dreams. They spent hours talking. Emily talked about her career, about how she had dedicated her life to finding Lily. Lily talked about her childhood with Karen, about how she had become a teacher, about her work at the NGO. It's ironic, Lily said. I spend my life reuniting families, and didn't know my own family was looking for me. Maybe you always knew unconsciously. That's why you chose this work. By the end of the meeting, they had established a real connection. Lily felt more comfortable about meeting the rest of the family. Lily's first meeting with Michael was emotional. He cried when he saw her, but he respected her space. They talked about little birds, about the memories she was recovering, about how he had never stopped looking for her. "Dad, I need you to understand that I love Mom, Karen," Lily said. "She is the only mother I knew for 16 years. "I understand, sweetheart. I just want you to know that you always had a place here." With Sarah, it was more complicated. She wanted to make up for 16 lost years in one visit. She wanted Lily to move back to Portland. She wanted to make plans for the future as if nothing had happened. "Mom, Sarah," Lily said carefully, "I need time to process all of this." "Time? We've already lost 16 years. "I didn't lose 16 years. I lived 16 years. With another family." Sarah couldn't accept that Lily considered Karen as family too. The situation became even more complicated when Sarah decided to go to Greenville to confront Karen personally. "You stole my daughter," Sarah said when Karen opened the door. "I saved your daughter," Karen replied. "Where were you when she needed medical care? When she had pneumonia at 8 years old? When she cried from nightmares every night? We were looking for her. And I was taking care of her." The argument between the two women was intense. Both loved Lily, and both felt they had the right to be called mother. Lily arrived in the middle of the fight and was devastated to see the two women she loved attacking each other verbally. "Stop," she shouted. "Stop this right now." "Lily, you need to choose," Sarah said. "It's either her or us." "I refuse to choose," Lily replied firmly. "You are both important to me. You both love me, and I love you both." "That's not possible," Sarah insisted. "Yes, it is. Families aren't just made of blood, they are made of love, of care, of being present. Mom, Karen was present for 16 years. You were present in my heart for 16 years. All of you are my family." Lily's declaration silenced the two women. "Mom, Sarah, I understand your pain. You lost a little girl and found an adult woman. That must be very hard." Sarah began to cry. "I just wanted to have you back," she said. "You do have me back, but I'm not the same 6-year-old child anymore. I'm a person who was shaped by two families. And Mom, Karen," Lily continued, "you need to understand that hiding the truth from me was wrong. I had the right to know about my biological family." "I know," Karen admitted. "I was afraid of losing you. You won't lose me. But you can't keep me a prisoner of the past either." In the following months, Lily established a visitation routine with both families. She spent some weekends in Portland with Michael, Sarah, and Emily, and others in Greenville with Karen. It wasn't easy. Sarah remained resentful and tried to monopolize Lily's time when she was in Portland. Karen, in turn, became depressed when Lily traveled to see her biological family. Michael and Emily were the ones who adapted best to the situation. They understood that Lily was a grown woman with her own life and her own decisions. "What matters is that she's back in our life," Michael would say to Sarah. "It doesn't matter in what way." Emily and Lily developed a genuine friendship beyond their sisterly bond. They texted every day on Messenger, shared professional experiences, and advised each other about relationships. "Thank you for never giving up on looking for me," Lily said to Emily during one of their meetings. "Thank you for becoming such an amazing person," Emily replied. Over time, even Sarah began to accept the situation. She realized that trying to force Lily to choose was pushing her daughter away. The decisive moment happened on Lily's 23rd birthday. She decided to throw a party and invite both families. "I want all the people I love in one place," she said. The party was tense at first. Sarah and Karen barely spoke to each other. Michael tried to mediate conversations. Emily did her best to keep the mood pleasant. But when Lily blew out the candles on the cake, she gave a speech that moved everyone. 17 years ago, a 6-year-old girl got lost in a street market. On that day, two families lost a piece of themselves. The Johnson family lost a daughter, and teacher Karen didn't yet know she would gain a daughter. Today, I understand that there is no right or wrong version of this story. There is pain on all sides. There is love on all sides, and there is a 23-year-old woman who is the result of all this love. I am Lily Johnson Williams Smith, daughter of Michael and Sarah, who brought me into the world, daughter of Karen, who raised me, sister of Emily, who never gave up on finding me. And today I can say I am the luckiest person in the world because I have two families who love me. There weren't any dry eyes in the room when Lily finished speaking. Sarah approached Karen and, for the first time, spoke with affection. "Thank you for taking care of our daughter when we couldn't." "Thank you for raising such a special girl," Karen replied. The hug between the two women sealed a truce that would become an unlikely but true friendship. 2 years later, Lily announced she had been accepted into a master's program in psychology in New York City. She wanted to specialize in family reunification and childhood trauma. "I want to use my story to help other families," she explained. Both Michael and Karen were proud of her decision. Sarah, who had learned to accept her daughter's choices, also supported her. Emily, who now worked at a tech company in New York City, was emotional about the news. "We're going to be neighbors again," she said to Lily, "as it should have always been." On the day Lily moved to New York City, both families were there to help. Michael and Karen carried boxes together, talking about how Lily had become a determined and compassionate woman. Sarah had prepared a photo album from when Lily was a child to give as a gift. "So you remember where it all began," she said. Karen gave Lily a journal where she had written down all the important milestones of her life. First day of school, first word after the trauma, first friendships, graduation. "So you remember where it all was built," she said. Emily gave Lily a new computer. "So you can keep bringing families together," she said, "and so we can talk every day." That night, while unpacking her things in the new apartment, Lily looked at the photos scattered around. Photos from childhood with Michael, Sarah, and Emily. Photos from her teens and young adulthood with Karen. Recent photos of everyone together. She picked up her phone and created a messenger group called Complete Family. She added Michael, Sarah, Emily, and Karen. The first message was a photo of her in the new apartment, smiling, surrounded by memories of a life that had been painful, but now made sense. "I'm home," she wrote, "in every home you've given me." End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this story of reunion and overcoming. Do you think Lily made the right decisions by maintaining ties with both families? And Sarah, did she manage to overcome the pain of separation? Leave your opinion in the comments and don't forget to give that cheeky like and subscribe to the channel.